Announcements. The foundation election ballots are due today. I'm sure that CJ Lang is anxiously awaiting to count those ballots so he can find out who's going to be on his very important foundation committee. I hope you all got your ballots in on time. Next week, we are going to be honored by a visit from Captain Rotary. And I don't know if you guys know who Captain Rotary is, but that's Noel Jackson from the Trenton Club. He's our new district governor. And he has earned that name, I guess, by jumping out of an airplane. As the joke goes, jumping out of a perfectly good airplane. He is probably going to offer you an opportunity to join him on August 15th if you are so inclined to jump out of a perfectly good airplane. He's been doing this for a couple of years and raising money for polio. The golf outing, of course, new date is August the 10th. I understand that the foursomes are filling up rather quickly. So make sure if you're interested in playing, you get your buddies together and get signed up. CJ Lang is also in charge of volunteers, and he's going to need lots of them. So if you are inclined not to play, want you to volunteer to help out so that the golf outing goes smoothly. It's always a lot of fun to spend the afternoon out at Sandy's place, enjoying the weather. Last year it was beautiful, sunny. Oh no, wait. I think it was colder than hell that day. I can't remember. I think it was, yeah. Okay. Sign up to Water Flowers in the Park. Who do they sign up with? Is that you, Paul, that they would sign up with to get on that list?
Nope. You check your email. It's all through Sign Up Genius. All you do is put your email in, pick the date you want to do it. It even sends you a reminder.
Wow. Boy, the things that we can come up with, huh? Okay, so make sure you sign up because, as they say, many hands make the light work. Fall Festival, of course, as we heard last week, was canceled for this year due to the corona infections. We're all going to miss it. Keep your ears posted. There probably will be some celebration of some sort. And of course, our chicken barbecue is canceled. And we'll keep our ears open as well to find out if there are something is going to replace it or what. I think the committee is thinking about a number of different ideas. So we'll be anxious to hear what they come up with. Are there any other announcements from the club? Okay, hearing none. We'll move on to our Sergeant at Arms, and can anybody guess who it is today on Paul Sincock Day? It's Paul Sincock. So I'm going to turn the mic over to Paul, and he is going to lighten your pockets. So go ahead, Paul.
Well, at least virtually, I'm going to lighten the pocket. So we have just a few things on my list here today. James Van Horn for arranging to have me as Sergeant at Arms. You don't have to pay today. CJ Lang will be happy to put in $1 on your behalf because you will be Sergeant again at some point, and I just want to make sure my bases are covered. Mike Richardson, nice to see you online with us. We'll accept $1 from you as well, virtually, or just mail it in, and we'll take care of that. We've had a complaint about President John. Apparently, our president is having driveway parties, and there are adult beverages on his driveway from time to time. So if you're out and about looking for an adult beverage, stop by John's house.
7:30 tonight.
Okay. Let's see here. Dave Willett, we're going to have to accept a virtual $1 from you for telling a Tigger story prior to the start of today. So yeah.
Okay.
Chuck Bears, just want to thank you and just know that I've recently contributed to your retirement fund when I brought Belle over to Parkway. They took really good care of her, so as usual, and so appreciate that. And so just want to let you know your retirement is in good shape. Let's see, Billy Ventola, you've been on vacation since like, I don't know, January or something?
Just March.
You know, so we're gonna have to accept a virtual dollar from you as well, because it's a long drive to sign up for flower watering. So so we need to get you back here so you could sign up for flower watering detail. Where's Dan? Dan Hordoff. Did you get your hair cut this week? Just need to know that. Let me see if I can. There we go. He's still shagging away there. We're going to send you in, get a hair. Yeah, before they shut everything down again, you better get a haircut.
I know, right?
Let's see, Cam Miller. When you first got on, you were looking very businesslike, and you know you were like shuffling papers on the desk and everything. So we'll take $1 for that. And then last but not least, Kurt Cohn. Just to let you know that all is well in the insurance business, because yeah, you folks managed to send me all of my insurance bills that are due this month, and along with my city taxes. And so it's a big month of outgoing cash in the Sincock household this month. So, but we'll get that all taken care of. So you're good to go too. So other than that, that's all I have, Mr. President or MC or acting president or whatever we're doing here.
Thanks for the promotion, Paul. I appreciate it. Okay, so at this point, we are going to move on with our program, and we're going to find out something that I've been wondering about for a long time, and I can't wait to hear to answer some of my questions. And to introduce our program today is Dave Willett. Go ahead, Dave.
Thanks, Bill. I, like most of you, have been driving by what we call the Burroughs Building for years, and was curious about what's going on there. So the short of this is Kevin Crute is somebody that I met, and he's explained to me sort of the running evolution of the building. And he's now introduced to me our speaker today, who is going to explain the elephant in the room, I guess. But I went through that building shortly after it was in play to be developed by a different group, and then I've seen it more recently. And our president, John Basuvis, has asked us to look to programs by our committee that bring a positive spin to in the midst of this COVID economic crisis, whatever we're living through. And I think that our speaker today is going to share something that we should all enjoy knowing about, and it's casting, I think, a favorable light on our community. So I'm going to introduce Mike Burnett. He's one of the 6 operating people in the ownership group, and he's a married man with 3 sons, 30, 29, and 27. He's a Michigan resident. Graduated from Bentley High School. So did my wife. Got a graduate degree and a bachelor's degree. Went to Western and has had an interesting career, but I don't want to steal any more time from him. So I give you Michael Burdette. I'm sorry.
No problem. Thank you, David. Thank you, all members and guests, for allowing me to take a little bit of your time today when I could be out enjoying the sun and apparently finding someone's driveway for adult beverages, I understand. So I'll be doing that. And let me give it to the driveway with adult beverages. David had a chance to mention briefly some of my background, my bio and such. But today, as it stands, basically my current life is made up of living, breathing, and eating everything Burroughs Building, Burroughs Campus, and so forth. And I actually have my office in the Burroughs Building. That's where I spend a lot of my time. Dave, thanks for this chance. I appreciate you setting it up with me. And I appreciate Kevin running and hiding and making me do it, of course. But I've done this many times, and I really do appreciate this opportunity. As you explained, the Rotary Group, it's quite an eclectic, valuable group of people, so I hope I can pass on information that's enlightening, informative, and maybe something you go away good with. I think I agree to your point, absolutely, David. It's a tough time right now, and I wish all of you health, wealth, and happiness. And in a COVID pandemic time, I'm happy to talk about the Burroughs Building because it's been extremely good for us over these times after purchasing and remodeling. So I see nothing but forward. I don't look in the rearview mirror as I see some of these unfortunate times, but we'll get past this. To give you just a brief statement of the building itself and kind of some of the things we've done, the Burroughs Building is actually addressed at 41100 Plymouth Road in Plymouth Township, Michigan. The building, I'm sure many of you know architects or famous architects. We're fortunate that this building was designed by Albert Kahn and considered one of his legacy buildings around the world. We've had a lot of people come to us once it's been purchased and the remodel process started, simply because it's an Albert Kahn building. The University of Michigan brought their architectural department over to study the building as we did the remodeling and help us learn more about Albert Kahn and the building itself. The building was designed and finished in 1939. It's just under 1 million square feet. And to take on a little exercise of 1 million square feet, we had no idea what we were getting into. Now, nearing the end of the remodeling, 1 million square feet, it was a heck of a project. Interesting also is the building sits on 59 contiguous acres. And I'm very fortunate to say, having ownership of 59 contiguous acres in the Plymouth communities is pretty rare and pretty darn fortunate. It's a beautiful community, and there we sit on top of all of this space. The building itself, when I say it's 1 million square feet, I want to make sure you have a better visual. There's a real nice picture up on the screen, but it's 1 million square feet comprised of probably 6 buildings, would be fair to say. But in essence, for simplicity, when you travel down Plymouth Road east or west, you see the building, or the south side of the building, there's a 5-story office complex. That building is 250,000 square feet, with each floor about 50,000 square feet. Starting from the south and going north, there's 3 additional buildings, each of which are approximately 250,000 single-story warehouse-type buildings with approximately 20-foot ceilings. There's a corridor that connects from the main building, which is the office tower, back through what we call Building 2, which is 250,000, Building 3, and Building 4. All of that locates itself on approximately 59 acres, comprising roughly 1 million square feet. Now, the group that own the building, I wanted to touch on this group to tell you a little bit about ourselves, so you know who the heck we are. The ownership group is called Plymouth 848 LLC. You'll see that name, but we proudly display ourselves as the Burroughs Building. Everything Burroughs is what we know, the public knows, and quite frankly, Southeast Michigan knows from a real estate standpoint, potential tenant standpoint, and also operationally. There's 6 of us that own the building, very capable people involved in this building. myself and Gary Shaw are the majority owners that are on site and responsible for the operation and the remodeling process. I am on the campus myself and regularly there. Gary is often there directing the remodeling and the construction side. The other four gentlemen are in and out of the property as we do our work. This group, in addition to owning the Burroughs Building, we have a number of other commercial buildings. But of interest, of course, we have two buildings in Plymouth. One is on Junction, which we were talking about with John earlier, and Plymouth Township, another building on General Drive. So Plymouth as a community is very near and dear to us. And with the Burroughs Building, becomes the whole Plymouth community very substantial, and we do appreciate being in this community. In early 2016, and I think David mentioned it when he said he was part or was alongside a group interested in buying the building, we learned there was a number of people interested in buying this building. We never thought the six of us were going to have any opportunity to buy it, but we entered in discussions with the Burroughs Corporation in the beginning of 2016.
Down.
And about 10 months of negotiations finally ended up where on November 16, 2016, our group, Plymouth 848 LLC, became the owners of this Burroughs Building. And to Dave's point, for those of us on the Zoom meeting and unable to be walking through the halls, the easiest thing for me to say to make it relative or you can relate to it, think of the nuclear holocaust at Chernobyl, and you will see the inside of this building. And David, I think you could agree with me on that. It was horrifying to see what the building was, but we bought it because of that. We're a capable group, as I'll tell you who the heck we are and kind of what we do and what was a day job to turn it into this night job called the Burroughs Building. The current relationship we have with a local bank, that being Independent Bank, was who we went to after the purchase of the building and said, we would like a substantial amount of money to remodel this thing called the Burroughs Building. And because of the partnership that we had put together for this building and in other commercial buildings, the bank was very interested in this opportunity. And who we are is one of the partners is a very large mechanical contractor. I'm a commercial equipment provider, a rep for large commercial equipment. We have a commercial building supply wholesaler owner. We have a realtor and real estate developers. So those, what we call day job opportunities, gave us a wealth of knowledge to take on, let's call it Chernobyl, and in this remodeling process. So when we sat down with the bank, they wanted to tour it with us. And after we revived them, gave them water, fresh fruit, a rub on the back, they realized maybe we could remodel this if we gave them a good plan and a good budget. And being as close to those folks as where they did take us serious, and we sat back because of our expertise, we structured a budget and said, okay, what's it going to cost to do this? We met with the banking president and the people, and another bank joined this opportunity. And we said, here's what we're going to do. Here's our plan. Here's an itemized cost. Here's what we think it's going to cost. And fortunately for us, shortly after the purchase, nearing January 1 of 2017, the bank agreed to loan us the money to do the remodeling. The total building remodeling, both inside and out, is going to be complete. We're estimating December 31st, 2020. It could be more or sooner than that. I should say not more, but could be sooner than that because we're well on our way to complete. We're probably 90% of the way there. So after 49 months of a lot of work, this building will be completely remodeled at the end of 2020. Now that the muscle, the sweat equity, the contractor label, the work we've all put in is one thing. But I wanted to tell you, as I did early in the bio I said to Dave, it's the cost and investment in the building and the community that's important to us. The entire investment on the remodeling side is going to be at approximately $40 million is what we put back into this building. And there's not many people that can say they're taking their personal assets, combining with their partnership, and taking hold or taking ownership of $40 million to remodel this property. And that's what we've done. That isn't the end either. We intend to continue to put more money into the building as opportunities come up. What really was cool about what happened to us, seeing what we've done with the building, and I'll share with you some of the tenants that we've secured. But the tenants see this historic landmark Albert Kahn building. And when we signed leases with them, they also took responsibility for tenant development with us. And in the dollar figures we put together with our current tenant base and this occupancy level we have, the tenants alone have exceeded $30 million of investments in their tenant space as of this date. So a combination of the two, in the local community in this property alone, there's a $70 million investment injection of cash into these properties. So I hope you can appreciate the level of importance, the level of interest, the level of commitment that we've had to this property. Now, it's one thing to talk about all the money that you put in a building, but really what have you done with it? And as I mentioned to David when we were talking, I wanted to say, here's what the heck we're doing with this, some of the improvements. So as you drive by, you might see the facade and some of the things we're doing, but I want you to know what's going on also inside of the building. And everyone is welcome at any time if you wanted to see the building or the campus, please ask. But because of our experience, this ownership group, we, in both mechanical, electrical, and fire protection, this is much more than a facelift. It's behind the walls, it's the walls, it's in front of the walls, it's the ceiling, it's the exterior. All of these things have been remodeled. In particular, we've done a complete mechanical system upgrade. And as we were talking before the meeting started, I think you all remember seeing that smokestack that stood 100 feet in the air and said Burroughs on it. That was to operate a coal boiler system. There's a coal storage bin. There's an alley runway that served these boilers to power the whole campus. There is no longer coal boilers being operated, and I don't know, maybe unfortunately or fortunately, the stack or the chimney is gone. Now we've located throughout the campus small mechanical rooms with high efficiency condensing boilers without, and the savings are almost 60% annually on just what we've seen in this high efficiency equipment. In addition to the heating side of the comfort load, we've also completely replaced the air conditioning and chiller system. You won't see it, but on the top of each one of the buildings, all new AC and chiller units, which dollar and cent wise was a substantial investment. When we got into the building, we also discovered that wires that were installed in 1939, which was what we called the completion date, then the additions in the 1950s and 60s, those wires just aren't that good anymore. And when one uses a plug-in into a 1939 outlet, things don't go as well as you think. So we've done a complete campus upgrade on the electrical side, and all the electrical systems have been changed. What's been kind of neat about this investment is we learned we're one of DTE's largest electrical users. And as we've continued to upgrade the campus, they've been part of it. They participated in a campus-wide lighting upgrade. Both interior, exterior, and parking lot are all the new high-efficiency LED lights. And a great deal of money was spent, but helped funded by DTE. Something kind of cool in today's modern day, we also had the opportunity to install electric car chargers. We found the tenant base with the increase in electric vehicles has needed the car chargers. So DTE supported us in electric car charger program, and you'll see them installed on the campus itself. Another thing, we all have our homes, and we all know the nuisance of windows, whether they need to be replaced, painted, or the vacuum breakers or barriers break. There's a lot of work to be done there. We took quotes, brought in contractors, and decided it was worth the investment. And the entire 250,000 square feet of window space in the office tower was replaced at $1.25 million. So as you drive by the Burroughs Building now, take a look at the windows and the finish work we did. It's some of the most valuable windows, and quite frankly, I think it looked really nice. But another really interesting part, and you might have seen it, David, when you walked through, in the office building, Mr. Burroughs wanted, in the day, very high-end wood floors. The 250,000 office building has 1 1/4 inch thick maple floors. They were milled in a mill in Grayling, Michigan, and trucked down to the site. and installed in 250,000 square feet. When we came in, they had been covered in linoleum, they'd been covered in other laminates, they'd been covered in cement and brick, and we were able to restore almost all of the existing 1.25 inch maple floors and refinish them. And it is one of the prettiest floors on 250,000 square feet you'll ever see. And that new modern warehouse look where people take offices, they finish floors, and they leave these beautiful wood floors. That's what we've restored inside of that building at a pretty substantial cost. There's also many other upgrades like IT. We put in the full fiber optics cables. There's cyber cafes throughout the building. Whatever the heck a cyber cafe is, I was just looking for some banana bread, but apparently we have cyber cafes now. So there was a gym and a cafeteria inside that was a disaster. We've started and near completing a full upgrade of the gymnasium and the cafeteria, the restaurant. But as the coronavirus and COVID pandemic has hit, we have a whole bunch of rethinking as how we'll handle that facility. But it's for the tenant base, as well as the gymnasium will be for the available community when that opportunity is restored. The new campus has seen a security system now throughout the whole building. There's cameras, there's TVs, and it's what you would call a secured building now. Another big investment we found was the parking lot. All of the parking lots have been redone, and as you've drone down Plymouth Road heading east, or at the east end of the building, we've constructed a whole new parking lot, and our investment in just parking alone has now come to $5 million. So it's scary to see what a parking lot costs to build, repair, fix, and maintain. And finally, we're in the last throes of our landscaping. I thought it was easy to go up to English Garden, buy a flat of flowers, and do your home for $200, $300, $400, $500, throw a rhododendron, maybe a yew, $250. Well, we just crossed the $1 million mark for landscaping with bioswales, berms, Japanese maple, Auburn columnar maples. It's incredible, but it's all part of the requirement and what we wanted to do to make that building look like the Albert Kahn building it deserves. Inside the building, all the tenant spaces, or nearly all, have been remodeled now to a very high level, each different, each catering to each tenant. And finally, something that we did was kind of cool. The last thing I'll mention on the upgrades, as you can imagine, elevator technology has changed. And I'm not sure how they got up in the air from 1 to 5 in the days of old, but we're now, all new elevators have been installed. The state of Michigan is on site today, putting the final approval and certification on the elevators. But we did something a little different. In the office building, which is 5 stories, the new elevators we installed travel from the basement up through the 5 stories, penetrate the roof, and on the top of the 5th floor, they enter an outdoor patio or bar where you can come and have adult beverages when it gets finished. But we're not sure exactly how that'll work out. But if you were to stand on the roof of the 5th floor, it is one of the most beautiful sights you'll see. You see all of the Plymouth communities and a good portion of Southeast Michigan. It's really, really beautiful. And we're going to provide that opportunity for a tenant to build out the roof. And we've had a lot of interest from tenants to now finish rooftop space, and that's going to be available. So that's a list of the what I consider the pretty neat things we've done to remodel the building. Neat ends in dollar symbols. That's why the building's gotten to this $40 million investment. But what's also come with that, our commitment to making this community and the building nicer, is notable tenants. And you guys, I'm sure many of you have been reading about Rivian Automotive. Rivian Automotive is headquartered in our building. Fortunately for us, in early negotiations, their multi-building location in Livonia, RJ Scurange and the ownership group, we presented to them the thought of coming over to our building and putting a substantial amount of money into the remodeling and getting them as a tenant. They are there now and have 330,000 square feet. There's an evolution with the company, a lot of things happening to them, which we happen to be personally involved with. It's pretty spectacular. And what you all see in Tesla, you will see in a electrified and autonomous pickup truck and Amazon Prime delivery vehicles in very short order. It is awe-inspiring what you see what they're doing inside of our building. Another notable tenant, I don't know if you know by name, but United Road Systems is America's largest car hauler. They are headquartered in our building now, and they also own Pilot Transport, semis with black trailers, silver band that say Pilot. They travel with the prototype vehicles. They're a very significant customer. More close to home, Hatteras, a printing company, has 90,000 square feet, does all high-end printing for the auto industry and some others. And a name you may recognize, when you travel to malls, you see Halloween City, or their parent company called Party City. They'll have Christmas City, and they'll have Easter City throughout the United States. In our building, they have a mock-up store. When you walked into Party City or Halloween City, there's one inside of our building. There's also the staff of the administration in that building that it gets changed over every 3 to 6 months, and the management comes in. Well, unfortunately for them, in these COVID times, Party City laid off 16,000 employees in April. And I wouldn't want to be that. But fortunately for us, they considered our location essential with a mock-up store and their staff, their administrative staff, and we stayed open through all of it. So we've been fortunate to keep that. And a local kind of cool tenant, Cantoro, stores a lot of their stuff in tenant space in our building. So if you guys want some uncooked pasta and wine, give me a call. We'll rifle through their inventory, and please don't tell them. There's many other tenants there too, valuable tenants that we speak of. In sum total, the building is about 85% occupied right now. And that's a pretty fortunate position to be in with this investment. You need that type of tenant base. And the good news about all this, during these pandemic times, I can proudly tell you that not one tenant did not pay us of the people in that building. We've had to assist a couple with rent furlough, but not one single tenant in all this time did we have the misfortune of not being paid. So we thank our lucky stars. And another thing that's come out of this, the Plymouth Township people, Kurt Heisey, and there's just a number of people that come to work with us, but it really started with Kurt and his group coming in to visit with us and seeing what the heck we had there. And then he eventually sent Gary Heitman and some others. The Plymouth and Plymouth Township people, we hope to continue a relationship with, because I will tell you, they have been extremely interested in us bringing tenants and people to the business. At one time, we had up to 1,800 people. The coronavirus has driven it down to maybe 200 right now. Throughout July, they're announcing returns, and by year end, we'll be back up to the 1,800 people on campus. We're very fortunate, I say it over and over again, to be involved in the Plymouth community and be in the Plymouth area. We're very fortunate to have the Burroughs Building. And in closing, I'd just like to say, if anybody was interested in seeing the building, or you have tenants that have any interest in being in the wonderful Plymouth communities, send them over to Mike Burdette in the building. We'll be more than glad to visit with them, be more than glad to visit with you guys, and give you a real taste of something we're doggone proud of, and hopefully shines well in the Plymouth and Plymouth Township and City of Plymouth communities. Thank you. I'll turn it back over to you if you guys want to, Bill or David.
Thanks,
Q&A
Mike.
time.
Thanks, Mike. What a great presentation, and what a great job you guys are doing over there. Yeah, it's very exciting.
Yeah.
I think we might have time for a couple of questions. I'm not sure how to handle this. There's a chat room if you want to go in the chat room, or if you just want to wave your hand, or if you just want to start talking. If anybody has a question for Mike. Down here, Warren. Go ahead, Warren.
Thanks, Bill. Hey,
Hi,
Mike,
Warren.
how many square feet do you have vacant, and how much of that's contiguous in a particular area?
It's about 140,000 square feet left. There's 160,000, I should say. There's 70,000 contiguous space in one area, 40,000 in another, and then a myriad of other sizes depending on what you want that we could make into various size spaces. So it's significantly 70, significantly 40, and the balance, the 40,000, can be made up into usable space.
How much of that is office?
70,000 is warehouse, the second 40,000 piece is warehouse, and the balance 40,000 is office.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Anybody else? Dave?
Couple of things. I would like to mention that the ownership group has been very good to our club. When I was asked if we could find someplace to house our boiler, which we are very dependent on, Kevin allowed us to store the boiler
Yep.
up there, and it's still there. And as I've said to both Kevin and Mike, you know, if we don't have a boiler, we may not have a barbecue, and if we don't have a barbecue, there's gonna blow a big hole in the fall festival. So
Sure. Anytime.
it's been,
Yes, thank you, Mike.
they've been
You're
very
welcome.
nice to us to do that.
You're welcome.
And I've also suggested to Mike that I think he's would make an excellent Plymouth Rotary member.
He's a good salesman.
Suggested that you might want to entertain that.
Thank you very much.
If you're looking for a sponsor, Mike, I'd be happy to get you in the club.
I know you would, James.
I've already offered.
Yeah.
So I'm sort of a history buff, and I think, Mike, you said something about how many people once occupied that building.
Yep.
Can you tell them about what was there and the significance it played in preventing America from being number one language German-speaking country?
Yeah, the building, it's amazing that up to 6,000 people were there to assemble adding machines. Basically, that's where they started. And for the war effort, the adding machine, one of the floors was converted to munitions or bomb manufacturing. So during that time, Mr. Burroughs and his company was supporting the war effort through manufacturing munitions, ammunition, and such. And the floor areas, part of where we had to do the major restoration was in the areas where they had done the military work, because it was fast and furious, and they converted that building over into a manufacturing process for the munitions. And it was so interesting in that time when they were bringing people in, they had a separation policy. They defined you, male, female, created a workforce, a pay schedule, and put so many different things in play, and then had up to 6,000 people on that campus. And we're looking for purchasing additional land beyond the 58 just to find places for people to park in its time. And the unfortunate thing about Burroughs Corporation itself, the adding machine, much like the horse, went away with the car, but they tried to get into modernizing it into what advanced technology, and eventually Burroughs merged with Sperry Corporation, if you remember that name, and formed Unisys. And Unisys Corporation, which still exists today, is held by a venture capital group who owns a number of businesses and has absolutely no clue about owning buildings, is who ultimately all of our negotiations went. But Burroughs, as it stands now, is simply an ATM repair company and has about 150 companies inside of Unisys doing other type of work. So it's a story that originated back in 1880, a building built in 39, and had a pretty dramatic history.
Mike, we have a question here in the chat room from 8M4R9X, who I don't know who it is, but they were wondering if there was going to be an open house when the building is completed in 2020.
That's a good question. We've had a lot of people ask that we would like to have that happen. One of the roadblocks we've run into, and I'm sure you all can appreciate this, Rivian Automotive is under high security. They're bringing out stuff they consider fairly advanced. In the beginning, when we didn't have a trustable relationship, when I entered the building, they had 4 people, 2 at each side of me, with posts and black trash bags on each side of me, and they walked me through the building, covered to the right and left, 10 feet wide black trash bags as they moved as I was talking to the electricians. It was crazy. Now they realize I'm not such a bad guy, pretty trustable. I can go throughout the building. But they're pretty uncomfortable with walkthroughs. Now, they did have an open house themselves where they brought all the press in and the Plymouth people. So I'd imagine that may be a possibility. When it comes to completion, we'd have to poll our audience and see if we can do an open house and give a general tour. But yeah, that's a great question. It's been asked a number of times. Something we'd love to do, actually.
Anybody else? Any questions? I'm looking, I see nobody waving their arms.
Okay.
So at that point, Michael, I want to thank you very much for a very interesting program.
You're welcome.
And that offer from James and Dave and myself, any one of us would be certainly happy to sponsor you if you ever have an interest in becoming into the Rotary. So thanks again.
Come see me anytime. Thanks, all of you. I'll leave the meeting now, let you up to your business. And David, thanks. I appreciate this opportunity.
Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Mike. There's one thing that I wanted to mention to everyone, which is a little concerning to me, and maybe you guys can help. It looks like we had 35 people at the meeting today. Now, well, I should really, consider thanking the program committee. They're brilliant in bringing in they've been brilliant and will continue to be bringing in interesting topics and speakers for us to hear. And I think that we could certainly muster up more than 35 people to attend our meeting. So I'm going to charge everybody who's listening today to talk to somebody maybe who was in the Rotary who wasn't at the meeting today to join us next week. We do have an important program coming up with our district governor. He's going to tell us what he's got in store for us for this year. So it should be a good meeting to attend. So maybe we can raise our numbers a little bit. After all, where else can you be so well entertained as you've been entertained for the last 45 minutes? And I just, this really kind of goes along with what Mike has talked about today. And a wise man once said, the present condition does not determine where you can go. It merely determines where you start. So I think that applies not only to what Mike and his management group has done over at Burroughs Building, but it also applies to all of us during these tough times. Mahatma Gandhi said the best way to find yourself is to leave yourself in the service of others. So that kind of keeps us into the, certainly capsulizes our philosophy as Rotarians. So we've got good company when it comes to Mahatma Gandhi. Special thanks to James and John for setting this up for me, running the slides. And thanks for all of you for attending. It's an honor to be the host and a lot of fun as well. So I will see you all next Friday. Thanks again.